Hello everyone, happy Sunday. This is Simon with AvaTrade. I want to welcome everyone to our weekly webinar, your weekly trading plan, and a special warm welcome to new people. And as you can see, the title says it all. What we're trying to do here is actually create order for our trading. And as I like to say, it's not my saying. I'm quoting someone, I'm not sure whom. The traders like to say that you plan your trade and then you trade your plan. And that brings more order to our trading, hopefully better results and less chaos. Few things about myself. This is me, Simon Friedman. I've been involved with trading for almost 23 years. In June of 2000, I came to Wall Street as a proprietary day trader, and I did it for almost 11 years. It was stressful, so after 11 years, I went back to different way of trading, and I started to mentor, educate other traders. And currently, I'm working with customers of AvaTrade, and I'm really happy that I'm able to share my experience, my knowledge with people. What we're going to do, as usual, the agenda of the webinar will go to indices, stocks, commodities, and Forex. These are the channels that it's a great idea for you to follow. You have Telegram, you have Twitter, and my favorite, YouTube channel, where you can have ability to access a lot of educational material, a lot of tutorials, and also webinars. If you miss live webinar, most of them are being posted on YouTube, so you can watch it at your convenient time. So all you need to do is just subscribe and then click on that bell so you'll be notified when new things are coming in. Risk warning, of course, we do here purely educational process, so we don't suggest any trades. You can find full statement at avatrade.com. Okay, so this is the slide. You know, I like to prepare slides or screenshots. This is from marketwatch.com, and it's all about the Feds and so on. So I just want to share with you what we're going to do today. We'll talk a little bit about the important things upcoming this coming week. We'll talk a little bit about what happened last week. We'll also go through a few instruments that were discussed. That includes few stocks and few Forex pairs that we had some potential setup and to see how they worked out. And then we'll switch to MT4 platform and we'll look into indices, like I mentioned, indices, stocks, some commodities, Forex pairs, and we'll wrap it up with Bitcoin. Okay, so this week, the highlight of the week will be on Wednesday. Tuesday, the FOMC starts the meeting, and Wednesday they will be announcing their decision as far as the interest rate. So also, I wanted to show you something that it could be useful for you. This is the site. You can just take a look at the name of the site. It's CME Group, the full title here, or you can just Google CME Fed Watch, and it should bring you to this. So actually, the prediction of the Feds, it's funny how the Wall Street makes everything tradable. So they actually trade these futures on the Fed's predictions. But it's not the point. The point is that as of now, at this moment, you see that there's a 62% chance that it will be as planned, a 0.25% increase in the announcement on the 22nd, which is on Wednesday. So that's 62% probability. Okay, you can check it, you can follow it, you can, if you'd like, you know, some people like statistics, some people like to really see what's happening. So I just figured I'll give you this. I might have mentioned the last meeting, I'm not sure, but you can save this address and access the details. Okay, so this week, Powell, you know, I call it the most powerful man on the planet because one of his words can actually tremble the markets or push them higher. So he is powerful, and his words are. So speaking of words, 30 minutes later, after the announcement of the interest rate, there will be press conference where usually different representatives of different institutions are drilling him with questions. And the whole idea is the investors are trying to feel the mood of the Fed. Is it hawkish? Is it dovish? Are they continue to be hard on inflation? Are they softening? So that's important to see and follow what the press conference is. And most of the big traders and analysts and Wall Street representatives are really paying close attention to the press conference. So that's on Wednesday. And we'll take a look at economic calendar in general in a moment. Now, another big thing's happening that Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, she's a former, she was there before Powell, and she will be testifying before the congressional subcommittees on Wednesday and Thursday, 2 days, and she will be, excuse me, she will be talking about these issues with the banks, and we'll be talking about the banks in a moment as well, and she'll also be we'll be talking about the budget proposal by the president and the debt ceiling of the U.S. So also important that testimony will be followed closely. And of course, everybody's worried about the banks, what's happening with the banks. And even if you're not involved with trading these days, it's all over the news, it's all over the press. And the few banks really went belly up. So SVB Financial Group, that's the parent of Silicon Valley Bank, they just filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in New York. Also, there's a Signature Bank, CBNY, in trouble. Another bank that was just kind of bailed out or in the process of being bailed out is the First Republican Bank. So major U.S. banks, together with JP Morgan, they created the fund, the rescue fund, to kind of inject money into the First Republic to save the bank, and that's about $30 billion. And of course, Europe shook up a little bit because of the Credit Suisse. The bank is actually, UBS is in talks about possibly acquiring the Credit Suisse. Meanwhile, the Swiss National Bank also save them or give them some funds, quite a bit. It's about 50 billion Swiss francs or $54 billion to save the bank. And last week we had interest rate decisions from Europe, and the awesome press conference, Christine Lagarde was talking about the bank, trying to reassure and calm everybody down, saying that the European banks are safe, everything's okay. So let's see, this week definitely we'll be hearing more things about the banks. Maybe some other issues will be coming to the surface. You never know. So that's the plan. Again, the highlight of the week in front of us, that's the Fed's decision and development with all the banks. So that's why I just wanted to show you this thing here, and it's all about the Feds, and it's nice how they put the yellow sign caution, right? Okay, let's move to economic calendar, and let's see what's waiting for us in the upcoming week. And for new people that are not familiar with economic calendar, what I do here is really take the events or announcements with the high impact. As you could see, everything in red. There's more, and if you'd like to follow up economic calendar, it wouldn't be a bad idea. You can actually filter through things, something that's relative to your trading. As I always say, even if you knew all these numbers ahead of time, precise numbers, you wouldn't really know for sure what market will be doing. But knowing the certain things are happening at a certain time, it really saves you a lot of headache and a lot of unpredictable things. So important to know, especially events like interest rate announcement or NFP numbers or any other important things that are really increasing volatility in the markets. So Monday, we have the interest rate decision from China. We have also President Lagarde speaking of ECB. Excuse me. We have Bank of Australia meeting minutes on Tuesday, followed by CPI numbers from Canada. They're expecting lower numbers than last one. Wednesday, CPI numbers from UK, also expecting a little bit lower than the previous one. And as you could see, it's all about the Feds. After that, monetary policy statement, interest rate decision. And 30 minutes later, after the announcement, there's a press conference where, as I said, Powell will be drilled with all kind of questions. Now here I'm showing the GMT time, but you can access this on our web trader or the app, or you can just use any website that provides it. This is public knowledge. You can just Google economic calendar and you can choose the site of your preference. On Thursday, interest rate decisions from Switzerland, followed by interest rate decision from UK and the statement. So we have 3 interest rate decisions. The main one, of course, the Feds. From US, we have Switzerland, and we have Bank of England as well. So that's as far as Thursday. Friday, we have PMI numbers from Germany, European Union, UK, durable goods from US, and retail sales from Canada. Again, this is just the high impact announcements. There are more. You can access it. You can choose whatever it's relevant to your trading. Okay. So we went through the economic calendar. Let's just go to the MT4, and I want to start with few things that we spoke about last week. If you remember, we spoke about Intel was one of them, one of the stocks we said, and we said that Intel is not really falling on the falling market, and it looks like it continues the whole, it's like a second week in green. Let's take a look at the weekly chart. Yeah, it's a third week in green since we hit that support at around 24.5. We had a very nice move. It's about 24.5 to 20. It's about $5 move. That's a nice move to the upside, and we are facing, if we are continuing at around $30, $30.70, $31, we're approaching also a 200 moving average here. So Intel is strong, and again, just to remind you, we spoke about yesterday, they announced they're going to be building a big plant in Germany, and they get some money from German government, which is really helping out, as the company hasn't been doing so great lately. So Intel worked out and continues to work very nicely. We spoke about Microsoft and Netflix that potentially hitting support, and take a look. It worked very nicely after hitting the previous support over here. Microsoft had a nice move to the upside, and we are through the previous resistance, and then we'll just give back a little bit on Friday. So nice. By the way, when we look at the indices, we'll try to understand that a few stocks moved actually. NASDAQ as one out of 3 US indices was the strongest last week, and that's due to Microsoft, Facebook, and Google stocks that really ran up strongly. So that's Microsoft. Also, Netflix. We spoke about Netflix, that it will possibly hit support at around 281. It went as low as 285, didn't reach that, but then it was a move to the upside with the market. So not that significant. And the few Forex pairs that we spoke about worked very nicely. Euro Aussie. We spoke about Euro Aussie hitting the weekly resistance here, and this week it was a sell-off on this pair. Euro SEK, the Swiss krona, worked very nicely. It shook everybody out over here though. Take a look how beautifully it did. We measured it against the level of 3 years ago, right here, the March 15th, week of March 15th. We had a lot of fighting here, and this week, finally, the pair sold. Nice move to the downside. And the last one was GBP Aussie as well. It held the resistance nicely, and it went lower a little bit. So all three pairs worked very nicely. And as of stocks, Microsoft did what we predicted. Netflix didn't hit that support, but moved higher. So this is from last week, okay? Let's move on and see what's waiting for us this week. And before that, we'll just try to share some numbers here as far as the US indices. So Dow Jones on Friday, it fell about 1.2%. And in a week or last week, it fell almost flat. It fell 0.2% on the week. So as we see here, it still continues the pressure on US indices. It's strong, and a lot of it to do, of course, with a little bit of uncertainty and continuous increase in interest rate. And now the fear of bank collapsing also adding a lot of pressure. And we'll be seeing also stocks, financials on banks as well. So that's Dow Jones. Again, fell 1.2% on Friday. Overall, through the week, it fell 0.2%. S&Ps fell 1.1% on Friday, and actually had a green week, a little bit of a green week, 1.4% for the week. And Nasdaq, as I mentioned to you, had a strong week. It gained 4.4%, and Friday fell 0.7%, still ending up a very nice week. And as I mentioned, we'll take a look at those three stocks at the moment that Microsoft, Google, and Facebook added a lot of value to Nasdaq and pushed it higher. Let's go through European indices with Credit Suisse Bank having an issue. A lot of European indices just collapsed on Friday, and for the week they were super low. As you could see here, FTSE or UK 100 is approaching the previous support right here. Friday we closed at the lows, so we might be facing some support around here. We are testing this 73 level, 7300 level. So let's see how we react at this level. DAX as well is sold out on Friday. It bounced a little bit towards the end of the day. French index as well. We are approaching 100 moving average here, 100-day moving average. We are below the previous support that we had back in January 19. Even Nifty is continuing selling. As we mentioned, if you remember, when the market was selling, Nifty actually was going higher, and it is slowly bleeding lower, but it's clearly we're making lower lows and lower highs here. So we are switching the trend, or we switched the trend around here actually a while ago. And we are approaching a possible support. So that's as far as indices. Let's move to stocks, and we start with the stocks that we said that added a lot of value to Nasdaq. Facebook was very strong this week. Besides Friday, sold a little bit, and as some analysts say, it's nothing to do with financials. It's just the announcement they're going to lay off another 10,000 employees, so that moved the stock higher. If you take a look at the weekly chart, we are actually fighting this previous high that we had. We had a big fight around it between $196 and $197. Friday, we dipped below that resistance that we had here. So let's see if we continue building below this line around 196, we might continue sliding lower. And of course, we'll depend on the general market to see how things are going. Microsoft, super strong. As we mentioned earlier, we spoke about it last week. This was a very good play, and it was a very organized trade that we spoke about. So it hit the support that we previously holding, and then we just shoot up. Very nice move, and definitely it pushed the Nasdaq higher. Google as well. Let me find Google. Where are you hiding? Here comes Google. Google also had a nice move, and all this sell-off happened. If you remember, it's all about talks about artificial intelligence, and as they were saying that Google is not so moving towards that direction. So I guess I didn't find any specific news on this move, but maybe Google is coming up with something to compete with other providers of this AI chats and so on. In any event, the stock moved very nicely with the gaps. It didn't give anybody opportunity even to get out of their shorts, as you could see, really squeeze. Maybe it was a short squeeze, technical, I don't know. But again, together with Microsoft and Facebook, Google moved very nicely to the upside. Now, on the flip side, GM looks super weak for some reason. They've been struggling, it looks like it. Take a look. It just went down with the gaps. Very chaotic trading here, similar to what's been happening here. And then we moved higher. So we are approaching a possible support around 32.5. But the stock has been really selling. Maybe it has to do with electric vehicles, as every car maker is trying to compete with Tesla these days. So let's see what's happening here. At some point, it's going to bounce, but as of now, it's really experiencing a lot of downside pressure. Let's take a look at Tesla if you already speak about it. Tesla has been sitting since this latest sell-off from 200. Been sitting flat pretty much. Apple has been strong as well, another stock that added, of course, to Nasdaq. We are facing this resistance here. We had multiple attempts to break through this resistance. Let's take a look at the numbers. This was the first first attempt here, from which was sold later. So the high is 157.39. We almost hit it here, 137.26, and we are having a hard time to breaking through it. Some traders would find it as a cup and holder. Let's see if we really break through it. As if you remember, last week we spoke about some analysts really not being so excited about Apple, even downgrading it and lowering the price target to 120. This week, Apple was very strong. Okay. Nike is reporting on Tuesday. We'll be watching the stock. On a weekly chart, after this huge move to the upside since I think last earnings, we are correcting over here, and this is the week that we finished in green. So let's see what Nike will be doing. What are the earnings? Definitely will be affecting the stock. But since the highs, we kept on zigzagging to the downside, so making lower lows and lower highs, breaking the upside trend. So if we're going lower, this recent support at 115.70 would be tested, and if we're going higher, we probably try to break through this recent highs of around between $121 and $122. So that's as far as Nike. Now, let's move to commodities. And with the fear, of course, since since talks on the recession started and everything else, and now banks, everything else, that kind of piling up on negative side of the scales. We have energy really selling, and that oil right here. On the weekly chart, we hit exactly 200-week moving average. On the daily chart, we're really struggling here. We retesting this recent low at around 65, 69. And let's see what happens here. Some analysts actually predicting if things are continuing being to the downside with the banks and everything else. They said that, don't remember who exactly said it, so I'm not going to quote exact things, but their opinions that oil might hit $40 if things are continuing, the markets are continuing selling off. So that's crude oil. Natural gas is a very interesting situation here, and if you remember this tight channel that we discussed, we're back to the channel. We're back actually retesting the bottom of the channel, and it's a very tight one. It's about 30 cents between 233 and 260, as you could see here. Since this recent huge sell-off on natural gas, we finally hit a little bit of consolidation here or accumulation, and then we dipped below. We shook everybody out, and then we moved higher. We retested the $3, 3.025, and then we went back into the channel. We went to retest the bottom. We couldn't fly up again through 260, and we back at the bottom of the channel. So this week will be very crucial for natural gas. If we break through 233 and start building resistance below it, we might go and challenge this recent low at 211. And if we continue accumulating here and then break to the upside and continue higher, we might come to retest the $3 point here. So we'll be watching closely natural gas. Gold is the champion moving to metals. Take a look what happened on Friday. Friday, I think, was $70+ dollars, 1911 to 1988, $70 move over here. Now, it looks like it, if you remember, we spoke a while ago that the two instruments that play the role of safe haven when the equities are being a lot of uncertainty and sell-off in equity markets, then it looks like money flows into safe haven, and that's gold and Japanese yen. It's kind of a classic scenario of safe haven. So it looks like gold is regaining that title. Take a look. We're really flying higher, and if you take the chart, we're really at the very serious level here from which we sold last time. That was back in April of 2022. About 11 months ago, and we are facing that resistance approaching. So let's see, and it's a 3 consecutive weeks to the upside. We closed at the highs on Friday, so we'll be definitely watching gold. And of course, we're facing the Fed's decision on on Wednesday, which definitely will be affecting gold as well as US dollar. So that's, and interestingly enough, other metals didn't really do much. This is platinum, palladium that didn't do much, really sitting here since the sell-off. Silver had a nice move, but not as strong as gold anyway. So gold, it looks like it really, as I said, it's back to being safe haven. We'll be seeing it, we'll be watching it if that process continues. So that's as far as gold. Soft commodities had a little bit of a bounce. Let's take a quick look. Wheat had a nice week since the recent sell-off. Corn as well, and soybeans, I believe, actually sold. It's been sitting here on a 100 moving average and also on a support. So let's see how this week plays in soft commodities. Copper the last one I want to take a look at. Copper has been selling on China, or China index. And by the way, we didn't look at it. Just let's take a look really quick. China index is selling. We are approaching this support over here from which we start the whole running process. And we are approaching that support. Let's see how things plays out. So as you know, as I mentioned a lot of times, on China selling, copper is selling with it, and oil, of course, is adding to that downside pressure. So let's see what copper is doing. We are below the 394 level, from which, take a look here, it was a resistance. We broke through it, then we established support, and we failed to make higher highs here. That's why next attempt we just broke through it. And take a look what happened on Friday. We did challenge that level again at 394. We failed to stick to it, and it looks like there's a downside pressure on copper. So we'll be closely watching definitely what's happening in China, as we also have interest rate decision at the beginning of the week. So copper is going to be sensitive to what's happening in China. Okay, let's move to Forex, and we start with dollar index. It's been weak, but not really breaking through the recent support at 103. Take a look. This support is really, really strong. We held here. We broke through it for a while. Then had the huge accumulation above that level, from which we made a higher high from the previous one. And then on Wednesday was a big move to the upside with all the Swiss bank and other banks issues. And then Thursday and Friday was a sell-off. So, in my opinion, we have to be watching this Wednesday range. Again, the bottom of it, of this candle, is as significant as we're having this support around 103. And the top of this, if we do break through it, then Wednesday highs, we might continue challenging, first of all, 105, and then the recent high of, what was it, 105.31. Again, it will be depending a lot on the Fed's decision and their language about going forward with their actions. So that's as far as US dollar. Again, sitting close to the support, that means that all majors should be around the resistance, and it's true right here. Aussie dollar is trying to break through this resistance here. New Zealand dollar as well is facing strong resistance here. And USD JPY, as I mentioned to you, was a huge sell-off. The yen went up, not just on the weak dollar, but also on the process of being a safe haven, as gold has a lot of uncertainties coming to equity markets. So dollar yen is a very serious level here, from which we shoot up recently, and we'll be watching it at around here, 131. Swiss franc, this is the Wednesday move with the Credit Suisse news, and the Swiss franc on that day was really selling. And again, we have the interest rate decision from Switzerland, on Bank of Switzerland, this week, and let's see how the pair plays out. Okay, that's as far as Forex. Again, we have 3 interest rate decisions: Switzerland, UK, and the major ones, US, this week. So we'll definitely be seeing volatility in those currencies. And let's take a look at Bitcoin. As we said, we're going to wrap it up with Bitcoin. Finally, we broke through the long-awaited resistance here. We tried back in August of last year. We tried again in February, and then we just had a strong week that we just broke through this 25,000 psychological level. And the question is, what's next? It looks like investors got excited. If you remember, we spoke about it that for a while it was pretty much flat, and finally there was some serious significant moves. It looks like awakening is coming to Bitcoin. Again, we're still not clear what's happening in the Department of Regulations since the FTX issue and other things, and Silverbank and so on. So we might hear things from US regulators or from European regulators or anywhere else, and that's very sensitive for cryptocurrencies. As of now, excitement is there. We had a nice move, and we are continuing to the upside. What comes to mind, of course, that the next psychological level will be around 30,000. And if you take this initial drop here in May of 2021, the low here was $30,033.50. So logically speaking, the 30,000 could be the next checkpoint for Bitcoin. Okay, so let's wrap it up. We have an important week ahead of us. We have 3 interest rate decisions. And first of all, of course, the Fed's and the statement that follows it, or press conference that follows the statement. We have Swiss bank decision. We have Bank of England decision, and we have Yellen testifying. Will be definitely addressing the issue with banks, together with debt ceiling and the budget for the US for the 2024. And definitely we'll be seeing moves in dollar, gold, equity markets. So we'll be preparing ourselves for that. And of course, I want to wish everyone a great weekend, whatever's left of it, and get some rest, get some good energy, prepare yourself for the action of the week. And I want to thank you all for attending the webinar, and we'll be seeing everyone next week. Take care, all the best.